Yeah, we started creating Jenkins CI pipeline. So yesterday, and we have implemented these stages. So this is a declarative pipeline. First, we are doing installing the dependencies and running the unit test cases and Sonar scan. So after that, now we need to. So what are the stages generally in any CI process? Okay, any language. First thing, cloning is already happening here. Cloning is already happening, and then build or first of all install dependencies. Install dependencies and then unit testing and then scannings, all type of scannings you can mention. Yeah, so these are scanning is mostly theoretical concept, except the thing yesterday we tried, right? We need to install the scanner CLI in the agent, and we will have scanner console. The CLI will analyze the code and it will upload the results to the console. So in the console, we will have quality gates implemented. Okay, that is the scanning and Sonar scan we checked out, and we will implement after that image scanning and then one SASH and OSS scanning. I'll try something in internet, and after that, mm, this is what now we need to build. So this build is nothing but creating artifact. Okay, so in case of Java, the build files are called as jar files, and then others are zip files. Okay, so we need to build and we need to upload artifact to Nexus, some repository generally. So this is nothing but Nexus or JFrog, whatever it is. So this is once it is done, generally we can go for deployment in dev environment and then run functional testing and end the pipeline. So what is this process called as shift left? Okay, when you are giving interviews, you can tell this process. Shift left DevOps. So how should you tell? So I'm a DevOps engineer. In our project, we are implementing the shift left strategy. So what is that shift left strategy? So just type here, shift left in DevOps, application security, and then as well as the application functionality actually. So generally what will happen in olden days, we will deploy to QA environment or pre-prod environment, and then we were going for testing. So here, if any defects comes, again development will start. So this was the process earlier. There was no security at all in the build and release process. Once the application is deployed to the production, then we were checking the security scans like code smells and then any vulnerabilities in the code, some hacking things, all these things we were taking care of once it is into the production. We were not taking care about the development. We were not taking care about deployment and then functional testing, unit testing, and everything in dev environment. Now, shift left, what is it saying is instead of going to production and then taking care of the testing, scanning, you have to do it in the early stages of development itself. Okay, so this is continuous testing, shift left testing. So we are moving the process from after the deployment to at the time of development. Okay, so just read this. This is a theoretical process only. Okay, you can see SASH. SCA is nothing but our open source library scanning, dashed, and something another kind of protection, container scanning, firewalls. So everything we are testing at the time of shift left. You can move any possible process into the development stage itself. That is called shift left. So this is our shift left process. Okay. So I need to tell this confidently in interview. This is about theoretical knowledge. Then you will get obviously good advantage. Okay. So as part of our shift left process, now we have to build and then publish the artifact to the Nexus. First, let us implement the build. So build is nothing but we need to zip it. Okay, so we install the dependencies. First, let us see what is there. I'm commenting this sonar scan. So that should we anyhow implemented. So once you practice that, then that is good. No need to practice again and again. So we will say build. I'll just see what is available here. Let me create one folder that is RoboShop. And here I'm going to create new item, and this is catalog pipeline as of now. So next week we are going to use multi-branch pipeline anyhow. And then the pipeline from SCM. So here we have catalog. If it is a private repository, you can try once with private repository also. You need to just add the credentials like this, okay? But for now, we don't have any credentials, and Jenkins file, apply and save. This is all. So in our agent, there will be a home CentOS. Here we'll have a workspace folder. Here you can see RoboShop and then catalog. So here we have. So every time actually we need to clean up this one. Okay. Otherwise, what will happen? You can see this. So it will be working on the same folder. So it's generally a best practice to clean up once you clean up the workspace, clean up workspace, Jenkins pipeline. Okay, so you can have something in a post section. So many projects are happening here. That is not a good practice to keep it. Let me see what is it in temp folder. Okay. Anyhow, our responsibility is to clean it. Any plugin actually. Yeah. So we can use this one. Delete directory. So it should be at post section, and then always delete that. Let's try one micro statement, cleaning up workspace. And let us see what we have. So we have our node modules. So this is where all our installation dependencies are installed. So now we need to zip our server.js and then package.json and node modules. Generally, our application to work, for our application to work, we need to at least zip these things. So when you zip it and publish it to the Nexus, you can download anywhere, any VM, and then you can directly run our what is the command? We have our documentation. So we have pin node app server.js, right? So if you go here, any Node.js application, here there is a command that is running our application, pin node. So you should have Node.js installed in that VM, and the script path is app server.js. Okay, so this is what we are running. But to run this successfully, we should have this node modules. That's what we were doing earlier. Node install, npm install. Okay, npm install. But we are already doing this in as part of CI process. We should not do it again. So that's why what we have to do is we have to zip these node modules, nothing but dependencies, and then server.js and package.json generally. Okay, remaining files are not important, but anyhow, you can include or you can exclude based on your preference. Okay, so that is what we have to take care as part of build process. Now this build, I need to zip it. Jenkins zip function to zip the files. Mm, this pushing artifact. We'll anyhow see the pushing artifact. Yeah, this is the function generally inside our Linux. We can exclude few things if we want. Exclude. It's a command line actually, command line in our zip command. You can use -x to exclude. Okay, so zip -r. So now what I'm going to write here is just keep it zip -r, and then what we need basically You can take everything, but we can exclude. You can give exclude or X. Okay, first, let us see what we will get it. And here our workspace will be deleted. For now, I'm going to comment this and I'll show you what is the problem. You need to understand that problem to write this properly. Basically, I'm zipping everything, but I need to exclude .git. Okay, it has .git folder inside because it is Git repo. So let me push it. And then we go into the workspace and see what is there. Later we can delete. Okay, this done. Now let us go and then just check CD Robo Shop catalog. So we have just it is. I'm copying this to some temp location and I'll check there. And zip Jenkins file.zip. Okay. Here you can just see node modules and then package JSON, package log JSON, server JS, server project properties, and then systemd.service. Okay. So now the problem here, if you don't clean up the workspace, so next time, right? So it will come to the same folder and it will try to include this .zip also. Okay. So we need to exclude .zip as well. Generally by mistake, if you forget to clean up the workspace, in our next build, it will try to include this one as well. So that is why generally, so cleaning up the directory is the best practice, but still as a safety measure, you can exclude the zip also. Okay. So it's fine if you have Sonar properties, not a problem anyhow. So this is our build process. Okay, is done. Zipping is done. We have it available in the workspace, but now we need to push it somewhere. Publish artifact. This is publish artifact. Okay, where to publish? Generally, Nexus is the popular software for artifacts. Nexus repository. So this one. Generally, we call it as Sonar type Nexus. So you know Git. What is Git? Git is also a type of repository, but our intention here is to store code. If you try to store .exe, .jar files, and then .zip files into the Git, generally it will not allow. Okay, because the intention of Git is to store the code, not to store the files. But Nexus, so here, what is the recommendation? Don't store artifacts. And this is also a repository. So to store artifacts, with versioning generally, and here also versioning is there to store code with versioning, and here also don't store code. Okay, so both are repositories, but what they are storing is very important. It is storing the code, Nexus is storing the repository. For example, let us take Android. Right now, maybe the version is 17 or 18 something. So Android have one Nexus repository, Android Nexus. So there they will store Android entire software generally .zip 17.0, and earlier versions also they will show Android.zip 16.0.9 something. So like this, we have to keep a track of our entire application in a zip format into the Nexus repository. Okay, so that you will have track. So maybe your software is giving a lot of defects when it is released to the customer market. Okay, so one customer installed your software 17 version, but it is giving too many defects and his operating system or his system is not compatible. He has to downgrade to the 16 version. So how he can downgrade? You should have this file obviously available somewhere in your internet Nexus repository so that he can download and then he can install this version. Okay, so any software you take, it will always have the previous versions available. For example, let us take Tomcat. So you can see there will be previous versions always available. Tomcat 8.5 and then Tomcat 8, Tomcat 9. Okay, so all the versions are available. You can see this. Okay, Tomcat 3, Tomcat 4, Tomcat 5. So very old versions are also available. How are these available? Because they are storing it safely inside the Nexus with versioning. So that's what we are going to do. We are going to store our artifacts inside the Nexus repository. At least last 4-5 versions you need to maintain there. Okay, at least for auditing purpose and then downgrade purpose. So this is the Sonatype Nexus. We can have, we can install it, simple process, Nexus repository installation. Type. Then you can see here. Run as a service. Okay, you can download the tar file and then you can run it as a systemctl service. Okay, so the same thing we already did that through our installation scripts. If you want to try, you can download that generally distribution archive, right? Here it is a distribution archive. So you can download Unix archive and just follow this. Run as user and then just follow blindly these commands. And finally, systemctl, you can start like this. So now we are going to launch one instance for Nexus. So don't spend too much time on installation of DevOps tools because that's a one-time activity. Anyhow, there will be a dedicated team to manage those tools. T3 medium. All giving 13 GB and then launch instance. Okay. Maybe it will take 2 minutes to come up. So now what we have to do? So we have the Nexus server available. So Nexus server available, and you need to push this zip file with some version to Nexus. Okay. How can we push? So there will be a plugin available, Nexus Artifact Uploader. So go here and then go to the Manage Jenkins. And here you can see plugins, available plugins, Nexus Artifact Uploader. So this is the plugin you can use to push your artifact to Nexus. Okay. So plugin is installed. Now what we have to do, we need to install our Nexus. That is lab R2 for us. Nexus is 39. Okay. Install.sh. So again, Nexus need Java. So we are installing Java in the background. So you can always visit this script, what it is doing through this repository. Okay. Java install and a dedicated user. So again, the same thing, downloading Nexus and then extracting. So as mentioned in the document, so editing the nexus.rc file and finally doing this. Okay, this done. So when it is installed successfully, it will give us port number 8081. Okay, it's still starting in the background. 8081. Okay, so let us give a name here generally, but with version we need to give. For now, I am giving catalog.zip. Okay, so otherwise it is taking its any random name. So it is going to create catalog.zip and excluding these directories. Yeah, so we got it 8081. 8081. Admin, and the password is in this directory. Admin password. So let's get this. This is the password. New password admin 123. Admin 123. Enable anonymous access. Yeah, so this is the repository. So if you just see here, there are few repositories already. So mostly they are in Maven 2 format for Java projects. And then this NuGet is for the dependencies actually. So generally we have npm install. So where is it getting dependencies? Dependencies are from Node.js repository through internet. Okay. But here generally companies, so they can have something like NuGet.org-proxy. So what is this doing here is, let's go to the settings, repositories, and then NuGet org proxy. This is your organization repository, and proxy. You know the meaning of proxy, right? So proxy is on behalf of someone or something. On behalf of someone or something. So this is the meaning of proxy. So when inside the company organization, generally you will run npm install, but your systems are not allowed directly to connect to the internet. So your systems are configured to connect with Nexus, NuGet, or npm. Whatever NuGet is for .NET, Nexus, npm, proxy repository. Okay. If available here, you will get dependencies. If not available, so what will happen? So this goes through secure internet connection through proxy. Okay, so that is what the proxy is, this one. Okay, you can see location of the remote repository. So this is the from the NuGet. Similarly, we will have, you can create the Maven, Maven central proxy. You can see this. So this is calling the Maven central repository. Okay, so our laptops are configured to connect with our company's proxy repository, because many laptops are getting downloaded, right? So like we have 1,000 employees, everybody is started connecting to the internet, or bandwidth also is a problem. Maybe all the teams are using the same kind of dependencies, right? So like all Node.js are using same kind of dependencies. So every time we need to connect with our internet. So that will increase the traffic and increase the database, bandwidth, increase the power consumption, everything will be increased. So that is the original advantage of proxy. Okay. Instead of connecting every time to the internet, let us keep it and download it in some location so that from here the latency will be very less because it's our company internal network. And then when something is not available here, then this proxy will connect with the central repository through some safe internet connection. Okay. So that is the meaning of proxy generally. So now we are going to have, so go to the settings and go to the repositories, create a repository. Create repository that is maven2 hosted. Why I'm selecting this maven2 hosted is, there is one advantage. So maven2 here, it's not related to the Java at all. So this is a simple term. So let us take 10 students in our session, in our class. Okay. Is there any possibility, like, let us take 1,000 students in a college. Is there any possibility two persons have the same name? You can type in the chat. This will give you better understanding. Is there any possibility that two persons have the same name? Right. Any possibility that two persons have the same name, same date of birth, and then same first name? Okay, let us assume they may have. So they may have same first name, same last name, same date of birth. Okay, but definitely not same PAN card, right? These can be same, first name, last name, date of birth, location, everything can be same, right? In our olden days, so in a one village, every person name is same and not same PAN card. So you can mix with the combination, right? So you can select a combination of first name plus last name plus date of birth, generally forget PAN card, plus address. So if you are adding the combinations, so the possibility of having for two persons same details is almost impossible. Okay, so it's a impossible thing. So that's what let us understand. It means adding one by one, first name, last name, database address. So the possibility is becoming very, very less, right? The possibility of having all the details same is very, very less. Similarly, what is the concept of Maven 2 is there are three fields here. Those three fields are group ID, artifact ID, and then version. Okay. So this is the universal standard of maintaining the softwares. Group ID is nothing but our RoboShop, right? This is a group name. And artifact ID is nothing but our cart, catalog, and then like all our user any module. Version is nothing but what is the current version, like 1.0.0 or 1.0.2.0.0, like this. Okay, if you don't include group ID, so another project may be there, like you are handling another project inside TCS, that may be Amazon. So they also have same cart, same catalog, same user, and Flipkart, they also have the same. Right now, if you combine with the group ID like this one, inside RoboShop, there must be only one cart, one catalog, one user, right? And it may have different versions, like one was the first version, second version, third version. So if you include these three, so you can achieve the uniqueness of a software, which company, what is the module, what is the version. Now, if you see here our Terraform also, so it is storing in the same process. Inside Terraform, let us take the providers. Okay. Here, maybe you cannot see this. Let me go to the So this is our RoboShop infra. Take anything. Go to .terraform. Here you can see the same structure providers. So this provider is from registry.terraform.io, and inside the HashiCorp and then AWS, and you can see the version, Windows, and this is the final file. Okay, so they are including the combinations like registry.terraform.io, .hashicorp, and then inside that AWS and this version, and this is the Windows version. So now what will happen here for our software is generally group ID is mentioned generally as com.roboshop. This is the general practice. Okay. Our website is roboshop.com, but while mentioning a group ID, it is a reverse com.roboshop. And this it means it belongs to the roboshop.com company or project or website. And this is the module and this is the version. Okay. Since they have multiple Windows, Linux formats, they are maintaining like this. Okay, if you also have if you are also developing a software with Windows or Linux, then you can mention that inside here, com.roboshop.linux, or you can mention here cart.linux or cart.windows, an example, but this is not a standalone software, right? This is a website. The website will not have Linux, website will not have Windows separate versions. The website will work as same any operating system. Okay, but any desktop related softwares, if you are developing, then you will develop like this cart.linux, cart.windows, cart.iOS, something like that. Okay, so finally, you should understand group ID, artifact ID, and version are the mandatory things while pushing your artifact to any Nexus repository if you're using Maven 2 hosted, and that is the best format to maintain the repos. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create one repository for catalog, and then version policy can just use it as a mixed snapshot, and release we will understand it later. Just use it as mixed layout policy permissive, and then so you can uncheck this, allow redeploy. So if you keep disable redeploy, what will happen is you cannot push the same version software multiple times. Okay, like if you push, so if you keep allow redeploy, then it will allow the same version can be pushed multiple times. Okay, so that's it. This snapshot and release is snapshot. The meaning of snapshot is for the development, and release is the production version. But now, so let's go and then create repository. Okay, and come to this one, browsing, and here if you try to upload, so you can see you are getting this catalog. You can upload the file from your computer directly. Okay, but that is not our intention. We want to upload it from our pipeline. So our repository is created. This is the URL. Okay, so now let us get our package uploaded through our pipeline. So that is it. Nexus artifact uploader. Okay, so this is the example. So publish, oh sorry, this is publish artifact. And here the steps of, just copy this syntax, Nexus artifact uploader. So Nexus, it is Nexus 3 HTTP. And what is your Nexus URL? So this is our Nexus URL. Group ID, I'm going to make it as RoboShop, com.roboshop. Version for now. So right now I'm just hard coding these versions, but later we will get it automatically. 1.0.0, and the repository name is catalog. Credentials. What are the credentials? Now we need to store our credentials. Manage Jenkins, and then credentials. And here, let us not domain. Let us go to global credentials, add credentials, and admin 123 Nexus authentication and ID. Okay. This is what we have to give. So this plugin, it will get these credentials, it will authenticate to the Nexus server, and it will push artifact ID, this catalog, and then classifier is not required, and we have our catalog hyphen catalog.zip, right? So this is our file, catalog.zip, and this is going to be a type of zip file. Okay, so that's it. So this plugin, it's a artifact uploader plugin. So it's taking all the details from us. Oh, it is not required because we already mentioned HTTP here. And this is taking all the details like group ID, version, and these versions we have to get dynamically. So from next week, we will discuss GitHub, Git, right? At that time, we will get the versions. And this is finally uploading the zip file. Okay. Now push it, and then let us see. It is saying uploading artifact, group ID, artifact ID, type, version, catalog.zip. So now if you browse catalog, and here you can see catalog.zip. Now this is the URL. Okay, so anybody can download it. For example, so let us incognito window. You can see I can download this. So this is what we are doing generally while installing manually in our Linux servers. We were downloading it from S3 location, but we have to download it from Nexus like this. Okay. So these things can be formed dynamically. You can see. So this is our repository name, com/roboshop is our group ID, and then catalog is our artifact ID, and this is our version, and this is the file. So this is the format it is showing, it is storing. So inside Nexus repository, there is a catalog Maven 2 hosted, and inside that com roboshop, and then artifact ID is catalog, and then version is 1.0.0, and it is 1.0.0. This is the zip file. Now, next time when you are upgrading the software, actually we will give it 1.0.1, and then push it. Okay, just assume this will be anyhow next week we will get the versions automatically. Now if you push, okay, so this is done. Now you can go and refresh. You can see 1.0.1 is available. Okay, like 2.0.0, 2.0.1, you can maintain any version like that. Right? So this is the CI process. We are building, we are running unit testing, scanning, and functional testing. Anyhow, we cannot do it with. We should have the testing guys help. You do not need to worry. That can be taken care by the testing. But you can set in the interview. So we have all types of testing like unit testing, and then we will see after the deployment how the testing can be done theoretically. Okay, this is the CI process. So it is the same process for any language. Maybe for Java, it may be .jar files. And for Java, it is not npm install, it is mvn package. For Python, it is pip install. And then, yeah, that's the basic process. So and Sonar Scan will take care of it. If you are scanning Python project, it will take care of Python related scanning. So it can understand what is the source code and what are the recommendations. So we are going to make this as a pipeline library. So we have 100 projects in our RoboShop generally. So 100 pipelines, you cannot keep it like this. You cannot copy and paste into the 100 projects. Okay. And if there is, you have to do some simple change in a pipeline. If you want to add some extra stage, you have to go and then edit into the 100 project pipelines. So there is a solution in Jenkins that is called Jenkins Shared Library. Okay. Again, the same principle, right? Don't repeat yourself. Okay, if you have 100 projects, you are keeping 100 Jenkins files in 100 projects. It's a simple change you want to do. So going to 100 projects and changing it very difficult. Okay. So what is the drive principle says? Change in one location that should reflect everywhere. So that is the drive principle, right? So that is the principle we are going to use. We will keep pipelines central. So that is called as Jenkins shared library. Okay. Call them from any number of projects, ideally infinity projects. So this is the best feature of Jenkins, and you should emphasize this in your interviews. Okay, you should confidently say we are using Jenkins shared libraries. So we will discuss them anyhow from next week. So next week our concepts are going to be intensive. VM deployments. Deployments, like obviously they have downtime. Maybe now everyone moved to the container-based deployments and microservices-based deployments, but few years back we had VM deployments. The servers are not able to scalable. Okay, servers are fixed. Servers are fixed, and then we were announcing downtime. Okay? So once our package available in Nexus, what we were doing is manually. So log into the servers, or use some tools. Some VM deployment tools are there, Octant, something. So what these VM deployment tools will, how these VM deployment tools will work here is, so this is the generally CD tool. This is our VMs. So this is CD. Even now, many companies, legacy companies, are using this VM1 and then VM2, VM3. For example, assume these are your production servers. Okay. So this CD tool, generally we have something called as Octant. So they will have agents in every VM installed. Okay. So, and this tool is connected with that agent. So you write shell script here. Okay, write shell script. So what the shell script will do is first stop the server. Okay, like systemctl stop cart or catalog. First stop the server, remove the world artifact. Okay, like remove all the files in /app directory. Okay, download new artifact. Okay, and then extract and again start the server. So you will write this kind of shell script, and then from here, this CD tool will push this, and then it will run. It will run in all the VMs. So now that is the downtime. Okay, and there is no scope of scalability because these are on premise. Now, what are we doing here? We are doing some. We are in a cloud environment. Cloud VMs. We have cloud VMs. So we have a possibility of here auto scaling. Okay. So if it is auto scaling, servers are not fixed, right? You know, we are implementing auto scaling. Anytime your server will be terminated, anytime new server will be created. Okay. So this kind of environment will not work in cloud environment, and that is not good also. If you want this kind of environment in cloud, you don't need to opt for cloud. So cloud is completely dynamic. Okay. So how our deployments can be done here is you first create one instance. Okay, so this is somewhat complex process. If you want something, you need to. So this is obviously legacy. VM deployments are legacy. If you still want to go with VM and that to auto scaling, you need to do some kind of more work. Create one instance and then do all this process. Okay. Do the below process. Stop the instance. Take AMI. Okay, create AMI out of the instance and delete the instance once the AMI is taken. Okay, now you proceed your launch template, and then you target group, your auto scaling and policy, listener. So you follow this process like what we have done last week. Okay, so you follow this process. Now what will happen? So you got the new AMI that has the new code. Now anytime your traffic increases or decreases, so this will be taken care by auto scaling. Okay, so the only extra step you have to do is create one new instance and install your latest server, latest version application in it, stop the instance, take the AMI, and then create all these things. So now your application at least will be handling some traffic dynamically inside the cloud environment. So inside the cloud environment, no one will suggest the VM-based approach, but still we need to understand that. So what we are going to do is for next week, for one application like catalog, look, I'll show VM cloud automatic deployments with auto scale. So why I'm showing this, even it is legacy, is so at the time of interviews, maybe some of you have 10 years of experience or 5, 6 years of experience. So definitely we were not doing Docker images and the container approach earlier. So you have to say few of our applications were deployed into the VMs. Okay, so at that time we were doing this kind of deployment process. Okay, and recently we migrated to the container-based approach, microservices, Docker images, and containers into the Kubernetes. So we still have one or two legacy applications doing this process. I know this process, and then we are using your Docker and then Kubernetes approach for the latest applications, and I know that process as well. So to make up this whole story, you need to be confident to tell in the interviews. So we are going to do one deployment like this. Okay, for one component. So no need to do it for all the components because it's going to be the same process. And then we can jump into the Docker and Kubernetes. But before that, we need to discuss on the Git also. So last week it is going to be Git, how the feature branch is going to be created, how developers will raise a PR request and then merge it to the master. How can we release it to the production? So all that process, including Git, we will discuss next week, and then we will enter into the Docker and Kubernetes. So next week, I'm going to use this. Okay, just do it once again if you haven't done the practice. And for that purpose, you need to have some topic Terraform provisioners. Yeah, so even Terraform itself, they say provisioners are not at all useful, but only useful for the interview purpose and the legacy approaches. So say at some point they mentioned it is not useful. Okay, you can see. So use professionals as a provisioners as a last option, right? Better alternatives for most situations. Okay, so that's what they are saying, but still it is important for the interview purpose, and we are going to use it as part of legacy process. Local exec and remote exec. So there are two types of provisioners in Terraform. So one is local exec and then remote exec. It's nothing but local execution. Okay, local means wherever you run Terraform command, so that is called local. So if you run in our Jenkins agent, the local is Jenkins agent. What is remote? Remote is nothing but the EC2 instance. So this is the remote server. Okay, remember these 2 points. Local exec is nothing but executing this command inside the server where our Terraform command is running. Remote exec is nothing but executing the command inside the remote server. Okay, that is nothing but EC2 instance. So now let us practice this. I'm going to create provisioners. Let me take one provider. It's going to be local. It's fine. And then I'm going to create an ec2.tf. Okay, let me create one ec2. Provisioner. e2.micro. This is our AMIT. Just hard coding it. Okay, so this is our instance, right? So now provisioner, let us see first local exec. This is a simple thing. So what is this local exec is doing? Once the instance is provisioned, so this one will run. This one where it will run inside the local where your Terraform is running. And this will just output the IP address. Okay, now I want to output the IP address. To store it into a file. Echo self.ip address to, for example, inventory. Okay, so I'm creating a file inventory and then I'm pasting the private IP address. So now cd Terraform cd provisioner, or let me go to the git bash. cd slash DevOps AWS Terraform init. Terraform plan Terraform apply. Instance is getting created. And you can see, so there is a file called inventory here. So you got the IP address. What is the use of this IP address? What is the use of this local exec? Like imagine we are running this in Jenkins agent. Okay. And this Jenkins agent have Ansible installed. Okay. So what you can do here, clone our Ansible playbooks and then run this command Ansible playbook -i inventory and run your playbook.aml. So this is the advantage of local exec. So using local exec, you can integrate your Terraform with Ansible. We will see this next week. Okay. So you will get this question: what is local exec? What is local exec in Terraform? Local exec, we can run few commands on the instance creation. Post instance creation, we can run few commands locally. For example, we can run Ansible playbooks. We can get the IP address of the instance created, and we can target that instance, and we can run Ansible playbook. So that's what you can mention. You can basically run anything, not only this one. You can run anything. That is the advantage of local exec. And then remote exec is nothing but if you want just like user data. So user data, what it is happening. So once the instance is created, user data is running post instance creation. Similarly here, remote exec is exactly same as user data. Once instance created, you can configure it through remote exec. Okay. So what we have to do, first we need to get the connection. We need to connect to the server and run our script. Okay, so user data is the AWS feature. Okay, it's not Terraform feature. So user data is AWS feature. You are telling AWS to run this, to run few commands after the instance creation. But remote exec is not AWS feature. It is the Terraform feature. Once the instance is created, your Terraform can connect to that server and run our script. Just like you are logging into the server and running your shell script. So the same thing. I'm going to do remote. Okay, and t2.micro, but here it is not local exec, it is going to be remote exec. And for that purpose, you should have some connection block. Okay. Here there is no, yeah, here you have remote exec. You can see there is some connection. And this is such CentOS and you know the password is like DevOps 321 and public IP. Obviously, we need to use public IP and remote exit. So this is your remote exit. You can run commands like sudo yum install engines sudo systemctl start engines, for example. And then security groups. Let me just get the security group for the testing purpose. Okay, so what this remote exec is doing, it post instance creation, it will establish a connection using connection block, and then it will run the commands. Okay, you can write it a shell script and you can call the shell script also. Now let us apply this. There is some error. Group ID is invalid. The value cannot be empty. Just this line number 10. Invalid parameter value for parameter group ID is this. Nothing wrong here. Additional remote exception. To use. If you are giving security group, you should give the VPC also. Generally, subnet, right? So to give EC2 instance, AWS instance Terraform, you need to select the subnet also. This subnet ID. See, I'm just hardcoding. Our intention is to understand provisioners, not this one. So let me take the subnet ID. this one. Okay, now let us apply. Okay, now you can see it is trying to connect. It will take some time for the connection. System has to stabilize. You can see it's connected. And then it is running our script. It says that it's done. So this is how remote exec is used to bootstrap the server. So this is what you can say in the interface. Okay, so that's all for today. So next week, whatever the concepts we learned in all these days, like 41 sessions, whatever the concepts we learned, now we know how to create infrastructure, how to write playbooks. We know few concepts. We are going to keep all these, standardize these all concepts, and then we are going to discuss about the proper release process of any application. Okay. So what is the proper CI process? What is the proper deployment process? And we understand, we will discuss the disadvantages of VM approach, and then we can enter into the containerization. Okay. Now let us have few questions. Harita? Harita, you have some question, you can unmute. Santosh Avula.
Yeah, hi Shiva. Good morning.
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Yeah, Shiva, today we have to using the Nexus to store the repository artifacts, right?
Yeah,
So same in place of that Nexus, we go for the S3 bucket. We have to process the same or any other difference is there.
3-bucket versioning is also available, but not every company uses AWS cloud, right?
But this is a additional tool, right? Yeah, Nexus, we have to pay some or this a free version or available.
The Nexus is not only for storing the artifacts, as we said, so it is to keep this your company secure, to keep these kind of proxies also. And it is not only for artifacts, and you can see there will be lot of options. You can create your own M repository, right? You don't need to contact all the time internet. Like financial companies like RBI, SBI, HDFC, so they don't want to connect to internet unnecessarily. Okay, so maximum they will keep the connections inside the company network. So in that case, and banking companies also, they don't prefer to keep their artifacts inside the cloud because it's their entire code. So in that case, you can create M repositories, no need to connect to the internet. Your servers will not, no need to connect to the internet. And then we have Python repositories, we have .NET, we have Node.js, we have Java related proxies, you have Helm, you have Docker images you can store. So you have many options here. Yes, this is the purpose. You can obviously store in S3 also if you want only storage perspective.
Okay, Shiva. Yeah, sir, one more question. Yeah, Shiva, if you don't mind, you have to show the how you HTTPS configuration in webs.
HTTPS is, we are using it, right? ACM. Used already with the ACM to our public load balancer. So you want to see how it will happen manually. Is that what you want?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So one day we will see how can you submit CSR certificate signing request.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Shiva.
Yeah. Srinu. Srinu. Harita, Srinu. Okay, so this week, you guys, all of you practice all these things.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Yes. Yeah, hi, good morning. Hello. Okay, Janardhan.
Yeah, hi, sure. Good morning.
Yeah, hi, good morning.
This provision of remote EXEC and the data, user data, these are, it's not so clear on this. Can you please give us a little more difference between them? Like when can we use user data? When can we use the remote EXEC provision?
So this is Terraform. This is Terraform concept. User
Okay.
data, what you are not making any connection. Right?
Okay.
User data, you are not making any connection. It's AWS responsibility. Remote exec is you have to make the connection. That's the only
Okay,
difference.
but end of the day, both are doing the same job, right? So
Both
we
are
are
doing the same job, yes.
Okay.
But I see one advantage here. There is something like can fail it. Thanks. On failure option you have. So on failure fail. So what it can do is user data can be success or failure. But if this remote exec, whatever the script you are giving here, if user data is failure, will your instance will be created or not created?
I think it still creates.
It still creates, but you have an option in remote exec on failure. You can still fail the Terraform. So you have options on failure, continue, or on failure, fail.
On failure means that particular resource creation is failure, then we can stop the.
Yeah, we can stop the entire Terraform. So that's one of the advantage I'm thinking. So we will implement this next week.
Okay. And this again, these provisioners are again idempotent. Like whenever we rerun the Terraform apply, are these going to every time we run the Terraform apply? Will these remote provisioners will gonna execute or will not?
Your server is creating again, then obviously it will execute. If your server is not creating again and again, then it will not
So whereas in the case of user data, so it will not be, because that configuration, if the configuration is already available in the server, so it will not gonna recreate.
So the matter is this one. If your instance is already created, then there is no point of user data or remote exec also. If your instance is creating for the first time, then that will not execute.
Okay, I am just thinking a scenario where the instance is already created. We made small changes in the as part of the provisioners block. So in that situation,
Why is it getting replaced? That case, you want this one. So you don't have connection, and then you added a connection right now. That's what you mean, right?
no,
So you don't
even
have connection earlier.
yep,
You don't
even
have
connection
connection earlier.
previously also connection was there.
You're creating the instance.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're creating the instance.
Mhm.
Instance is created, and now you added the connection.
Yeah, I added the connection.
That's what your question, right?
Yeah, I added the connection.
Yes,
Again,
now-
the second time also the provisioner will work. The third case I'm thinking. So I already made small changes as part of the provisioners block.
Okay. So in terms of user data,
Mhm.
that will not affect.
Okay.
So if you change just user data, then your instance will not be affected. So it is the same. Maybe it says it's in the Terraform documentation. So changing the user data seems the instance is affected, but it will not affect.
Okay.
Updates to this field will trigger a stop or start of the instance by default. If the user data is set, then updates will trigger a destroy and recreate. So there is an option now. So updates to this field will trigger start and stop of instance by default. Okay, it will stop and then start. If you change the user data, the instance will be stopped and then started.
Okay.
And if the user data replace on change is set, then updates to this field will trigger a destroy and recreate. Okay, so we have an option. If you make this true, then the instance will be deleted and then created again. Yes, that is the option here.
Okay. Okay.
You can have that option there. The same option, I don't know. I need to check this. First, I need to create the instance and then create the connection again.
Okay, so in real time also, so if situation comes where we wanted to use the these user data provisioners, so it's better to go with the user data instead of the provisioners. That is the highly recommended, right?
No, Terraform is not. They make telling you as use this as a lost option.
Option, yeah. Yeah, fine, sure. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Hi Shiva, good morning. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually I tried to install this Jenkins on t2.micro. After installing it, I'm not able to see like configuring a remote agent.
So t2.micro is not sufficient.
Okay, maybe because of that reason, I'm not able to get full options, right?
Not like that actually, but it will be stuck. It will be hang.
Yeah, some
We
buttons are
don't know
not
what
showing.
is the exact reason.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
obviously it is hang. Okay. So
Yeah.
it is running Java. It is running Jenkins, the huge software. So obviously you need to take bigger instance. Okay.
Yeah, okay, sure. Thank you.
Vinod Kumar Paleti. Vinod Kumar Paleti.
Hi, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Yes, sir. Is JFrog and Nexus both are used for same purpose? Or?
Yeah, same purpose.
Okay. So one more question, sir. In the pipeline, I think we used any build tool like a Gradle or Maven in the Jenkins stage.
For Java projects, you can use anything, Maven or Gradle. Build to Maven or Gradle is only for Java projects, not other projects.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you, sir.
NPM is for Node.js, pip is for Python.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so that's all for this week. Have a nice weekend. See you on Monday. Bye bye.